Hi. Is the information dark age upon us? That's somewhere I read on the internet today. As a matter of fact, when I was much younger, there was a discussion about how the company can process goods and information quickly without lots of inventory, called the Toyota Production System. I wrote a book about it. So that was in the case of the company, and people talk about the supply chain and everything. And on top of it, this information age arrived with the internet, and now with AI and the free speech, all of that combined. So it may be very apparent that there are lots of information flying around. And if you are born in such an age, it's going to be very difficult to find your own destiny, what you want to do. So when I talk with young people, because I'm very interested how they are positioning themselves for the future, they seem to have a fairly optimistic view, most of them. But from my point, to review what's going on, and with my science or technology background, I'm concerned about how to follow up. So here's a thought. I have posted a few videos about myokoning. So I'm going to talk about what the myokoning does and how they could manage their life, so to speak, and see the analogy that we may be into the direction. When I say we, I'm talking about not the one with the high IQ and the technology background and money and fame, but majority. And they talk about the wealth gap, or maybe the information gap, maybe the ability gap to access the information, because if you are not connected in some way or the other with the quality information, and if it's difficult to find what to believe, then you or we may be left alone, and I'm very much concerned about it. When I started my YouTube video channel, I didn't think this was gonna be happening, but for me also to use the YouTube or see who is watching and how long they watch, retention time, or Instagram, I start to look into it. And this information dark age kind of a notion, and within that, how to find the light to see which way to go. Because in the dark age, you need to have light to see the direction, but the scope of that light that you can review may be limited and disturbed by all the information coming at you. So when I was talking and publishing and doing the videos and so forth for the companies of how to navigate in such a business environment, it was competing against time in a way to catch up, to know the insight as to which direction to go and how to build up your strengths to move in that direction. So obviously, well, I hate to say this, money speak, and I want to talk about how heart can speak and we can listen to it. That's the main subject that I think we should be considering about, and have some sort of a protection. It's like if you have a, how do you call that one? The bank to prevent from the wave to come over, you know, or the gate or anything like that, so that you don't get confused with all the information coming from right and left. Well, they're going to come. So have the ability to assess what to rely on and make a decision is going to be more and more difficult for majorities of people. That's my guess. So in one of the videos, I mentioned that the population growth may go down. And I think that may be a healthy thing. Well, that process of going down may be painful, and that's what I'm talking about. But if this continues, and it seems to be continuing, like looking at the news and reading the news and the US situation, very difficult to expect what's going to happen. So if that's the environment, which I think may be characterized as the information dark age, because which one to trust, you're building up the skill for yourself, not to be self-centered, but in the sense of how to position yourself given the setting so that you can navigate your life in an authentic manner, not to be part of the shift of this dark age and confused state, but find the real sense based upon the truth, not based upon the fake news. I think it's critical. I never thought that I may be talking about such a subject, but this could be a way to connect this myokonin idea, and I want to talk a bit about it. So myokonin are from Shin Buddhism, and there are actually quite a few, many of them in Japan, but they're not in the hierarchical level that they talk about with all the right word and right audience. They are the people, I call it the shop floor level or ground level, to figure out what to do, but many of them turn out to be illiterate, as it happened in the past, but these days maybe much, much less so in Japan, obviously. But their position was not to go in this direction of the brain to figure out, or they found that they are incapable of doing it. So they've searched the answer for that and found the answer within, with the help of Amida Buddha, called Amida Buddha like God, or I like to say nature's way. Because as I mentioned, there's a brain and heart, or the body, and the brain has this digital type of the, process of right and wrong and up and down and, beautiful and ugly and which way to go. So that is how we see the world, the information age, that darkness is becoming, and less clarity compared to the past. Anything can happen anywhere, and how do you deal with it? So if you get tangled up in that process, it's like in the stock market, the New York exchange, stock exchange. Maybe that's not a good example. The information comes every which direction. I call it crossfire syndrome in one of the books called The New Shop Floor Management, especially middle management and the lower level. They are told in which, from different directions, do this and do that, then you get lost. So the point of this self-managing, the mini company idea, mini me idea, is to help help find your own destiny given the situation. You cannot complain at the wind, but you can adjust the sail and figure out which way to go. That's what I said. And I think Myokonin, I may want to talk more about it. If you're interested, please let me know, because there's some wisdom and truth and compassion all combined in how they live in the area of the difficulty of the society, especially problem related to use of the brain and intellect. And the people couldn't follow up. So they went into the different direction. If you cannot muddle through this dark age and difficulty of the stimulation and the instruction or the orders coming and the environment changing, where do you find the secure place and be happy? I believe that's one way to think about. I thought about Zen as well, but the Zen has a little bit of an intellectual dimension, which itself is interesting because I have engineering background and I dealt with the top management. You have to speak the language, but I was trying to connect the top to the people in the middle and so forth, so that the organization become healthy. So now it's not that process which I worked on 40 years or so, but individuals within. So that's the change from the mini company to self-manage and help each other with the supplier, customer-supplier relationship to be understood, instead of just doing what the top may say, do as I say and just tell me what to do. That's very slave-like mentality. And in this age of that flood of information, you get lost. And given that situation, this Myokonin type of idea, maybe Zen can help, but Shin Buddhism, the Myokonin, and interestingly, Myokonin are those who practice well, and the work of those Myokonin were not as acknowledged at the hierarchy, the higher level of this Shin Buddhism. That's why Daisetsu Suzuki found the importance of Myokonin, highlighting that don't forget, these are the genuine people found their way. While the top guy was talking about the dogma and the theoretical construct of and how, it has its own benefit, naturally, but the brain part has to connect to the action and the audience how to deal with. And that audience was the Myokonin. I don't know if I can share more, but just to, at this moment, just create the image that let's find a way to fend off all the traffic control of the information. And I have been using the tools of meditation, or samadhi. So no brain only, no heart only. In the middle level is the no mind, no self state, where you can assess the situation of how the information is traveling and have a sense of observing clearly to make a decision. So stop and observe, but also stop and listen to or connect to the heart, the way of the universe, the way of nature. That brought us here. And don't forget that and just be caught up in the brain part of it. Of course, you have to use the brain, which I was doing yesterday, taking lots of time to set up the Instagram and see what I can do. And it was crazy because I have 3 or 4 the computers and the phones, and they have to talk each other, and some works here and some doesn't, and or the protocol, the way gets difficult. At the top level, with the money and the resources, they can do this way and this way. So you can struggle through to fit to the requirement to work on it. But that's not quite enough to live life. Don't forget our heart. And let's figure this out. I have an idea. And I want to talk more about this. So help me to help you and exchange ideas if we can. And find a path in this turbulent time. Thank you.